The Woody Lynch Show.
Hey, let's get in this time machine. Let's go back in time. Hop on in. I'll open the door for you. Let's go. Let's go back to where it all began. Let's go back to 2015 for me. Let's go. Let's start right now. Let's go. I don't know about you, but today it might be the holidays. Let's chalk it up to the holidays. I am going on this nostalgic roller coaster of a ride lately, where I am one day just doing some self-evaluation about, am I doing the right thing in my career, my business, my creativity, to am I doing enough for everybody? For those of you who may not know, I am self-employed, have been self-employed for a while. And what I do for a day job is I own a marketing agency. And so my primary job is communications, video production, and just marketing in general. And that includes everything under the sun. That includes I have lumped in podcasting, social media, just everything. If a client needs a commercial, we film a commercial for them. And when I say commercial, again, local commercial, we're going to get into that. That's what made me want to do this episode is local commercials. Probably what I'm going to title it, local commercials. And so my marketing agency is located in a very small town, and it has an umbrella of a lot of services. So being a very, very small agency, which it's me and my assistant, that's the agency size. Now I do outsource video production sometimes when just the workload is so great that I can't get to it. And I have a couple of guys, a couple of crews that I call in, and they come in and, I outsource some photography too, but a lot of people I kind of, it's under the umbrella, but they're not employees or contractors. And it's just kind of a good small town, collaboration, I guess. But being a small town marketing agency, it's very, your creativity limits, our creativity, like bandwidth is maxed out constantly. So for me years ago, right? So when I first started my journey into becoming a marketing agency, it all started from picking up a camera, right? I wanted to get into marketing. I thought I did. And this was almost 10 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. I really just wanted to create videos, artistic videos, mind you, because I was working at a nonprofit and I had a new position there as engagement marketing communications. And we needed a commercial and we needed ways to showcase what we were doing on social media. And Facebook was still not what it is today. But we didn't have a budget. Being a nonprofit, we had no budget, so I didn't have the funds to hire out a video team. So I ended up just getting a Canon 60D myself. Well, the nonprofit did, and just started filming stuff there and taught myself how to edit social media, taught myself how to do that stuff, right? So in that, I picked up the camera and I instantly went towards the tutorials of you're creating art. I wanted to just create artistic, emotional, cinematic videos. So of course my first lens was a 50 millimeter, the Nifty 50, for $100. So I got that Canon 60D and started filming stuff for the nonprofit, obviously like videos, testimonials, some commercials, which I'll get to that in a second. But I got the bug of doing cinematic stuff. I wanted to create artistic short films. I only wanted to do emotional stuff. I was in just this deep emotional mood for some reason, right? Which I'm not really that as a person, but for that phase I was. And that's all I wanted to do. So I would, at night, I would do that with my friend. We would do short films or plan these cinematic things that were really overly ambitious for my capability. I did not have the ability to do 1/100th of what I had planned, but we had fun. We learned a lot. We got to hang out, right? But my day job was the communications part, and I started doing video production I worked for the YMCA. And so we were doing summer camps and stuff like that. So then what happened was I did a commercial. We were coming up on New Year's New Year's Day, which for the fitness industry, at least a couple years ago, was like that was it. That was the Super Bowl. You're going to use your whole marketing budget for New Year's resolutions, so it better be good. So we needed a commercial to put on television during that time. And again, we didn't have the budget. They got me a camera and we were going at it, right? So I go ahead and film a commercial. We put it on TV, and then the cable channel or the cable Comcast, Xfinity now, in the area, the rep that we went through liked the commercial. Said, "Who'd you get to do your commercial?" I was like, "Well, I did it." And then she was like, "Well, do you mind? I have clients that are looking for production. They furnish the TV spots, Comcast does, but they don't have in-house production." She's like, "Can I just send them to you? And, you charge them for production and then they buy the TV through me." And I was like, "Yeah, let's try it." So it started with 1, 2, 3, and then it just kind of picked up. And then fast forward 7, 8 years later to today, that's what I'm doing. But it was funny because when I first started, and I got to looking through my Vimeo account today, and I will start uploading some of these to the Woody Land Productions YouTube page, especially on the shorts and stuff like that. So like, if you hear me talking about commercials and local commercials, go to my YouTube page and just look at them there, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So today specifically, I've just had the urge to talk about this one client, and hopefully I can get him on, because I think he has this wealth of knowledge that he has not, I don't know, that no one knows about, right? Because I'm talking about a local car dealer in the area that his commercials are just so well known in the area that people, they absolutely have a definitive opinion on them. Okay. And you'll know why in a minute. But like his reasoning and his knowledge and his years and his small town and his family business, like everything about it, like I got to get this guy on. So hopefully I can get him on. But, so rewind to 2015, and I was working for the Y, and I was doing these I thought artistic, let me clarify that. I thought they were cinematic. Just, I was waiting to be plucked up, and, some Hollywood studio was going to say, "Hey, we found this indie film director and we want him to direct the next Batman movie." And but man, looking back, my stuff was just horrible. But we were creating videos for the Y. My friend worked at the Y, and then we were doing short films in our off time. But so I was doing these videos, and that's all I wanted to do, nonprofit artistic videos, right? So then one day I get a call from the Comcast rep in a neighboring county, right? Neighboring city. And she was like, "Hey, I've got a client. He's a car dealer, and he has these kind of crazy commercials, but his production guy jumped ship, left town. Like, I don't know the whole story. All I know is that this guy needed a commercial that week, and they didn't know who else to call." Right. I was like, "Oh, I'll give it a go. Like, I'll try it. It's really not my style. I really just want to create emotional, if you're not crying during my videos, then I didn't, you don't have the capability to understand art." Right. That was my mentality. So I remember the client is about an hour and a half away, and Tory Blackwell Automotive. And he's awesome, by the way. I just bought my Jeep Gladiator from him, and there's a great crew there. And I've been doing them for almost 10 years. Right. So, I mean, just imagine that. Like, he's gotten 2 commercials from me every month for almost 10 years. Right. So this rep called me, said, "Hey, can you come film for this, Blackwell? And he's got these crazy commercials, but, he's looking for I was like, "Okay." So I go up there, and I didn't know what to expect. Right. Like, I hadn't seen his commercials before because I don't live in the area. I live an hour and a half away, and that they don't air on our local stations, and I don't have cable. So I didn't know what his commercials were. So I get there, and we're kind of going over the idea. He's got this book, and he was like, "Listen, I have very specific a tone for my commercials. And, I'm looking for a new production company, but I know that you're temporary, but let's try it." So we do the first one, and I'm going to play you the audio of the very first commercial that we did. And like, I want you to listen to this one, and then we're going to fast forward later. But
your old car killing you? Driving a car you hate can really stress you out! I want to help you find peace, love, and a nicer, newer car. So this month, take up to $4,697 off. The more you spend, the more you save. You'll fall in love with my For the People credit approval process.
You're approved, guaranteed.
Hey, Southwest Virginia, stop stressing about your clunker and relax in a new Kia Forte for just $149 a month. Ends after we've helped 102 people.
My dad's the dealer for the people.
In that meeting, Tori tells me of his tone, right? So we're going through and he's like, I do this, I get rid, but in person, I'm not properly conveying this because in person, he's like really low key. Okay. So I'm hearing what he wants and he's showing me like the book from his idea and the script and the graphics that he wants, that he kind of wants to, and the script of it. And that, he's going to take a lot of words and sandwich it in 30 seconds because it's got to be 30 seconds. So I film it and it takes me a bit, right? So like our first filming was a little off. Okay. I'll admit it because like I was throwing ideas and he has his way. And so it just didn't gel the first time. It wasn't anything about liking or disliking. It was just more about like, yeah, I don't know. When I got in the car, I was like, I don't think this is for me. I didn't feel like I was what he was looking for. And I'm sure he didn't feel the same way. I'm sure like he wanted a creative person to come in and that had taken green screen and just did crazy stuff, right? Like have him in a cape, wearing a cape, flying through a scene and over his lot. So fast forward again, that was the first month and we haven't gone anywhere since. So we've kind of evolved our relationship to today. And I got to thinking, like, this was a couple years ago. I've been doing his commercials, and for the longest time, I kind of fought it, right? Not that I wasn't proud. I was grateful for the work, but I really didn't tell anybody, right? Because his commercials around town, there's like Facebook groups that hate on his commercials because we amp up the volume. He's the crazy local guy, car dealer, yelling at the screen about the deals, right? And when I first started, it was so different from what I want to do as a product. So you got to understand, like, this was the one client that was like just in my portfolio that was like, man, it's not cinematic. It's not anything that I want to produce. I want to produce like, these moody things that have this dark color palette and all that stuff. Right. So for the longest time, I just didn't appreciate him as a client. I mean, I appreciate the money, I appreciate the business relationship and the steady work and, the ability to kind of hone my skills and get paid was a blessing and is a blessing. But then a couple years ago, it started to click with me, right? And my personality, I think I was starting to lighten up a lot, right? In real life, I was like, well, I say real life, that's a weird way of putting it. But in life, I'm a fun person, but like my camera work was, for some reason, I wanted to put out this persona that was like just this serious filmmaker. And that's just not me, right? My personality is just kind of, I love Disney movies. I love fun stuff. I love bright stuff. I don't know why I was always gravitating to that. So then a couple years ago, like when I started getting more into the marketing away from the video stuff, like I still do the video stuff, but I was trying to include agency stuff in my marketing, like the ideas, right? And it just started to click with me, like, man, these are actually works of art in their own right. Like these are actually very, like, the creative techniques that I learned in doing his commercials. I was like using those in other productions way more than I ever was the cinematic stuff I thought I was doing. And I say cinematic, y'all, is not cinematic at all. I'll look back, honestly. So please know that I do not have this inflated ego of my past stuff. But so one day I go in and I ask, I said, and he played me a voicemail, right? He was like, listen to the latest commercial, like a phone call I got. And he had like several phone calls, but the one specifically was like, I don't care what deal you have. I'm muted every time you're on TV. I'll never buy a car for you, blah, blah, whatever. So then fast forward a couple of other voicemails. And like, then he gets this really sweet voicemail because the guy is like one of the nicest guys in the area. He's like on the boards of all these charities. He gives back to this community. He's been super nice to me, like has done all this business with me. And so it's like nobody really knows the real side. They look on TV and they think that, oh, he yells at me, I'm going to mute the TV. And my grandmother would even call me when she would see the commercial come on the local station. Why do you do those? I need to mute that every time. I mute it every time it comes on. I'm like, oh, Granny, he's really super nice and he's a great guy. But she was like, I don't care. I don't know why he's got to yell at me on TV. Well, okay. So I asked him one day, I said, why this tone? Why don't we do like a serious running footage kind of testimonial video? And he said that years ago that he was doing those. He was doing the stock footage style commercials from like Dodge or Kia, where they would give you the running footage, or, you know, it was a serious kind of commercial and you'd put a voiceover to it. He's like, he just wasn't getting any feedback. He wasn't getting any, I mean, he was having business, but not like there was no word of mouth about it. There was no, hey, I saw you on TV, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, one day he just like was frustrated. Then he decided to put his mom in it and put her like in boxing gloves and said something about knocking out good deals. He was like, I don't know why, we just kind of went crazy. And he was like, we did that. And then people just started calling. And then from there, it just kind of went, it started growing and kind of getting crazier, where then he was like in a hunting stand with a gun, shooting good deals. Then he would get in a Superman cape and fly across the screen. He was like, and then I just started getting calls and I knew that it was effective because they were remembering it. And he was like, he shared a book with me. He was like, read this book. This is really what changed my outlook. And it was like a Purple Cow book. I was like, what is this Purple Cow book? And I started reading it. It was actually like, you know, you ride down the road. I'm going to give you the cliff notes. Like you ride down the road, you see these cows, but there's like this one purple cow, right? Like, and that's the one you notice. And I'm totally messing up the book though, but I'm trying to get through it. All right. But like, that's the one you notice. And so that's his technique for the commercials. And so from then on, that style and his commercials have almost morphed my whole portfolio, right? So I started doing his in 2015. And again, like a lot of my commercials, I thought I was like tapping into an emotional core. But if you fast forward to today and you look at the stuff today, you can absolutely see where that tone, that vibe has now become what I do. And what I mean by that is, so he's a car dealer about an hour and 40 minutes, hour and 30 minutes away from here. So then other car dealers started to call for production. So I was doing 2 commercials a month. They do it the first week of the month, right? Every month. And then they run on TV for 30 days till the deal ends. And then you get a new set of deals on the first of the month. And then we would film right around that and then have commercials by the end of the week. So when you would film it like on a Monday or Tuesday, and they would need to be uploaded to the television stations by Friday at 10 o'clock. So they would start the next week, the next Monday, right? So it was like, you have to turn it around in a day or two. And most of the time they'll get new deals and they want the commercial within 48 hours because like if they get a new deal from the maker, from like Kia, Dodge, Jeep, like on a Tuesday, then you've got to film like on a Wednesday and then have it uploaded usually like Thursday night or Friday morning, because it's a quick turn. They want to beat the other dealers. So all of a sudden this other dealership from Lynchburg called and they were looking for like a fun idea. They said that the quote was, I want something sticky because I want people to remember. And, you kind of doing some stuff like that. So I was like, man, I'm becoming the car dealer commercial guy, right? Like in my head, I was like, man, this is something I just did not want to do at first. And now like, okay, now I got other dealerships calling me. So then this other one, which was in my hometown, this is the one that was like 10 minutes away from my house, which was kind of nice. They wanted a silly, funny idea that stuck with people because these commercials that they were doing was going to stick, or we were going to air in the theater. So we come up with this idea of putting Bigfoot in the commercials, where Bigfoot was stealing the truck. And we came up with this character that was, he was kind of like a Mike Rowe, but like a, outdoor. They were filming a reality television show and every episode was the commercial. And he was filming the TV show looking for Bigfoot, but then in the background, Bigfoot was always still in the truck, right? His name was Rick Ram. That's the character my friend and my neighbor came up with. And then those on top of the Blackboard commercials, like, have completely set what I would say kind of like Woody Land Productions is today. It is, yeah, I have fun, but the marketing behind it actually has substance in a local market. And so, like, when people call or go on Facebook and just gripe about his commercials, one, I want them to remember, and I want to tell everybody, like, you actually called about it. Do you know how many commercials run that get no traction? And the fact that you actually remembered his name, got the number, and called just to complain about it, like, that never happens, right? I mean, it happens sometimes, but like, that is a rarity, right? So I go from doing these fun commercials in Danville, where I was reluctant to do them at first. Then slowly it's like, God, man, I'm having fun. All of a sudden he's like having me electrocute the Easter Bunny in a commercial. Then I'm having him like miniaturized and riding in a Santa sleigh, and like he's in a Santa outfit, or I'm putting explosions in the background or whatever. To then this other dealership is wanting Bigfoot. Like, so then we get this really expensive Bigfoot costume. We order it from a guy on the West Coast, and we do a series of Bigfoot commercials. Like, I think we ended up doing like 8 of them. And let me give you a little inside info. When I say we're doing these commercials and like they're 30 seconds and they're airing on TV, I'm gonna tell you a secret, right? So when I first started, I was pricing these commercials at, I don't know, I think I was charging around $300. That's a local commercial, right? So you go in, you film maybe an hour. If you film longer than an hour, you've messed up. Like, you're not, because these guys are not here to film. They're not looking to have hours and hours of takes. Really, you've got 1 or 2 takes per line, and then you're in a showroom, so people are walking around. You've got a lot going on. So when I say local commercials, this is what I mean. I mean the $300 to $400 range commercials with little to no effects, or whatever effects are in there are just really super low budget, right? Because they have to change them every month. So they're not going to spend $10,000 on a commercial and then it changes, right? And I'm not the type, I don't know effects well enough to really go beyond my local look. So everything I do is in Final Cut Pro. So every effect, every keyframe, everything graphic, I keep it all in Final Cut. So as you can imagine, I don't venture really into After Effects or any 3D stuff or any of that stuff. It's all kind of done in that. So fast forward now, and I would say 90% of my portfolio is fun, animation, Bigfoot, just off the wall stuff, because I found it just works. Because for so long I was so hung up on a portfolio, and I don't blame people that are, and I know that the product that you want to put out there, you want to be proud of, but it took me so long to become proud of what I do, right? On a local commercial level, that I started to embrace it and actually just started to run with it. And I actually got a call the other day from a company that wanted to use the Bigfoot costume, because I have a substantial Bigfoot costume that I'm actually looking at right now. They wanted to use it in a thing. So it's like you become this, because no one else really wants to venture in that territory, but I'm knee deep in it, and I love it because, one, it gets calls, it gets traction. People remember it. You may roll your eyes when you see a local commercial, but just know that, like, these people are genuine, right? And the production guy behind it probably just, he's doing what the business owner wants to do, and they have a couple $100 to work with, and it's sincere, and that's that. So when you see it and you're like, oh my gosh. But I really have an appreciation for it now, and I actually prefer the look of a sincere, modestly priced production over top of an inflated, emotional, cinematic one. Because there are some in town that do a good job, but like, I see that and they just do not stick with me. They do not. I really like the ones that are like, oh man, okay, I can see the guy's like wrist underneath the costume, or he's wearing tennis shoes with, or I can still see the green screen key key line around the dealership, the owner or whatever. So fast forward. So there's 10 years, 2015. Start doing those two times a month. And fast forward to 2023. And I just sent him this week, his next round, right? So we do 2 a month. We do one for Dodge, Jeep, Dodge, Ram, and then I do Kia. And then now we're actually making vertical versions and putting them on TikTok. And that's the ones I've got on our YouTube channel under the shorts section. You'll see those. I'm going to put those in there because he is venturing out and doing new platforms. And when you see these commercials, you'll see them and he yells at them because we want people to walk past the TV, or if they're sitting there and they're watching a show, they really don't want to see a commercial because we're forcing them to watch commercials. Nobody really wants to watch a commercial. So whatever it is, got to get their attention. And his technique is just to be loud. You got to be louder than everybody else so that they perk up and they're like, oh man, even if you hit mute, you're still noticing it. So when you see these commercials, I want you to look at them, but know that behind the scenes, he's the nicest guy. And again, he does all these charities and we do the takes. So when you see him and then all right, so we do about 1 or 2 takes per line because by the end he's hoarse and he's yelling the whole time, which is funny. But it's 1 or 2 takes per line, right? And then after it's okay, all right, we'll have a great day. Are y'all going on vacation? Where are you going? You going out of town? Okay, great. How's the family? It has evolved into some of the commercials that I am almost the most proud of. And it's so funny that as a creator, I picked up a camera and I really had set out. I really wanted to make movies and all that stuff. But then now I'm looking back and I'm man, I'm just really proud. I really love where I'm ending up and what I've done. And these local commercials that a lot of people, whatever, they either hate it or oh man, that guy's funny. They're crazy. It changed my business. Doing those changed my business, and I didn't even want to do them at first. It was nothing against him. It was just a style. I was I don't know that I want to do commercials. I'm doing this to pay for the camera equipment. But then now it's I drive an hour and 40 minutes. I haven't changed my prices at all for him because I actually love doing them. And we've gotten in the flow where there's virtually no edits. And I like creating them. They're almost like I'm creating content with doing his commercials. So if there's anybody out there with a camera and you're doing the grind and you're doing a job and you're man, I want to just, keep an open mind. Because I could tell you that this one client led to more and more and more. And I checked today, over 2,500 local commercials, right? 2,500. I think it's 2,556 as of today. And I've slowed down a lot lately because at one time I was doing 16. I did 16 commercials the first week of the month for a couple of years. That's a lot, y'all. That's a lot. But again, these are commercials where you go film, you're under an hour, and you're out, and then you come home, edit. You look for the best take, put the deals on it, file the co-op, make sure it passes, and it's on TV. So we're not talking about going through hours of footage. However, at the peak time, I was doing commercials 16 a week. And then you just get ready for the next round. I was doing other stuff during the rest of the month, but man, it changed my business. It changed my whole marketing attack, my approach. His style kind of morphed my business and morphed my approach to wanting things to be seen. There's stuff that I kind of create for me sometimes, but if you really want it seen, you got to get noticed. So go to the YouTube channel, the Woody Lamb Productions YouTube channel. I'll link it in the description and go through and you'll see I have local commercials. I have a playlist there. It says local commercials. And I'm going to start dumping a lot of these in there, a lot of the old ones in there. And I want you to take a look. But the next time a local commercial comes on television, And I mean local. Right? I mean hometown. Yeah, those. Just know that behind the scenes, you've got some sincere people that are just trying to be seen in a world that is forcing products down people's throat, that algorithms are now the way people are being seen or heard, and just a small business is trying to get your attention. And you know what? It probably wouldn't be a bad thing if you picked up the phone and said, hey, I saw your commercial, like the message you had, just wanted to let you know, because I'm telling you, that means more than you ever know.